welcome to Game Plan. I like to say thank you all for showing up. I see a lot of positive names inside the chat. Um, this is one of our mini installments where we bring a former collegiate or professional athlete to speak to all of our game plan or swag members about their career paths, about the sport, and how did they manage the two. Because with swag, we believe you can do both. You don't have to pick one or the other. So before we get started, I would like to try to give you this poll result. Give me 1 second, see if I can bring that up. Share the results. It seems like a lot of people are excited. A lot of people are curious. Nobody's apprehensive. That's great. That's great. I'm glad to see all the smiling faces in the chat room. So let me get started by introducing you to Dr. Jeremy Towns, MD, specialist of emergency medicine. Dr. Towns is a former defensive linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, the Washington Redskins, formerly the Washington team, formerly known as the Redskins, and the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, his journey has been very interesting because he's played collegiate football where he excelled, but he almost missed his opportunity to get into the league because when he got called, he actually went away for medical school. So I'm going to bring him up now to tell his entire story. So, Dr. Towns, please address the folks, and thank you for participating.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you all for joining. It means a lot to me. I hope you get something from my story. And during the process, I hope you realize that everything that I've done, you can also do it too. I always like to let people know that I get a few opportunities to go around and speak. And I always try to encourage people to realize that my story isn't unique. You can do everything that I've done, literally all of it. So I grew up in a single parent home here in Birmingham, Alabama. My dad was there when I was younger. He left addicted to drugs and alcohol. He's since been able to recover from those things and has been sober. But that was my childhood. I grew up with a twin brother, two older brothers. Me and my twin brother played basketball. And, what people kind of want to know is, how did you, grow up the way you did and get to where you are now? And one of the biggest reasons is my mother. She is the absolute biggest reason. She's a tough lady. They tell me that she wasn't always that tough. And when my dad left, she felt like she had to be tougher. And I mean, when I say tough, like if any of you all grew up in the house with young men, at times you get to fighting and stuff like that. And she would fight with us, like she break it up, and all those things. She very tough, mean what she says. I think she was a little tougher on me than she was my twin brother. The other person is my oldest brother. He made it cool to be smart. And so a lot of young men who grew up the way I did, they would get joked on and that type of thing. And so they would kind of shy away from the academics. But my oldest brother, I looked up to him. He was a heck of a basketball player. He went to Alabama on a full scholarship out of high school and then transferred to a D2 school and was inducted into the Hall of Fame there. So I always looked up to him. And so how I figured it is that if he said it was cool to make A's, then it was cool to make A's. So I didn't listen to what other people said around me. And between him and my mother, I learned what it means to be a competitor. So I just didn't matriculate this far just to matriculate this far. At a young age, they kind of put in me is that if the teacher gives you the same amount of time, the same information, the same resources, then you should be just as capable as anybody in your class, and you should be the best. And so I always wanted to make the highest grade in the class. And it became not just want to make the highest grade in the class. I always wanted to compete against myself. It wasn't about the person next to me. It's like I wanted to compete against myself, but at home they still demanded excellence. So before I knew what it meant to have excellence myself, my mother and my oldest brother, they put that in me. And so I ended up going to a predominantly Black high school. At first I was at a mixed high school, ended up going to a predominantly Black high school. And I'm glad I did. It just, the culture was different. Like, most of the people, not that it had to be that way, but as an inner city school, they didn't have much either. I didn't have much. I felt at home there. And so I ended up graduating valedictorian. While I was in high school, I was primarily a basketball player. Somebody talked me into playing football a week and a half before the first game, my senior season. And so I would be remiss if I didn't say, with my journey, I can just see God's hand on it. I know it can be unfamiliar territory to talk about faith sometimes, but I wouldn't go on this journey without faith. And I'll tell you more about that as I move through the story. But I ended up being going out for the football team a week and a half for the first game. And I loved football. It allowed me to be way more aggressive than basketball. I mean, I liked hitting people. I just like the physicality of it. Now, my twin brother, he's totally different. He loves the basketball court. He loved the basketball court. Great basketball player. He went to college to play basketball. And chance will have it that Pat Sullivan, he's now deceased, but he called me while I was working at Walgreens and said, we have a scholarship for you. And I didn't really know what I was going to do when I graduated high school, which is kind of a shame to graduate valedictorian and then kind of be in such limbo as far as my future academically. Coach Sullivan talked to me. I went home. I told my mother. A few days later, it was a letter of intent in the mail where you sign or whatever, and I was like, I don't want to go to Samford University. I'm not used to these type of people. I heard of Samford because it was right up the street, but being from the part of town I was from, we just didn't go over there much. So I'm like, talking to my moms, I'm like, moms, I just wait to see if somebody else. And being stern as she is, she was like, no, you're going to sign right here. Go ahead, hand me the pen. I'm like, Mom, this is my decision. You know what I'm saying? You can't force this on me. I'm saying they telling me to sign my name. And she always told me, anytime you sign your name, read it. So I'm like, Mom, I need to read this. I need to, kind of see what's going on. She said, no, I read it for you. And so I just went on ahead and signed. I didn't want to take it there with her because, one thing you learn about my mom's is she always take it further than it needs to be taken. You like, she's like, well, who you talking to? I'm like, Mom, I'm just asking a question. I'm not, I'm not undermining what she's saying. I'm just trying to see, what am I doing? And she was like, well, you know what they do in college. You're going to play football. I'm like, Mama, nobody ever heard of Samford football team. We don't even know if they have a football field. We just know they have a gym, but, she just signed my name. I went over there and talk about a culture shock. It was worse. I mean, I remember one of the young ladies said, they called me JT in college. She said, I can understand she said, I miss about 70% of what you say. I'm like, I'm decent at math. So that means you only possibly get 30% at the most. I'm like, you can understand 30% of what a dog says. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, the culture was just so different. People would clutch their purse. And so, what I had to start learning is as you matriculate through, a lot of things that's professional, especially in medicine, a lot of times you don't see people who look like you. And so went to Samford. I struggled, to be honest. I struggled in the classroom. I mean, the teacher, the first day she comes out and I'm thinking we just getting the syllabus for a class. She starts writing on the board and I'm like, ma'am, where's the PowerPoint? Where's the overhead projector? Like, I need something. And she just writing like one word. I'm like, ma'am, where I'm from, we use study guides. You know what I'm saying? So why are you doing all this writing? I mean, I didn't know class had started. And so I didn't do too well on her first test. And I had a teacher named Dr. Chu. He's a world-renowned cognitive psychologist at Samford University. And I made a 70% on his test, maybe a 75. Called my mother. I said, hey, Mom, professionally we say mother, but, I was like, hey, Mom, I made a 75 on the test and it was silence on the other end of the phone. And she said, I can't believe you called me about a 75. And so I was like, Mama, if you was gonna act this way, I wouldn't even have called you about it, because I'm excited. You messed up my whole excitement. And she said, you right, you shouldn't have. And she hung up on me. So I'm like 18 and a half years old. I'm like, I don't have to call her back. That was rude. She shouldn't treat people like that. You know, 10 minutes went by, 15 minutes went by. I thought she was going to call me back. And then my conscience started getting to me, but I was like, kind of having this, dialogue with myself, like, but why do I have to call her back? She hung up on me. I called her back. And I was like, Mom, like, what's going on? She said, well, you called me about a 75. That's no reason to call me. I said, wow, like, you can call your mother for anything, but to tell me I can't call about a 75, I mean, I was just dumbfounded. And what she told me, she said, you made A's in high school. You was valedictorian. I guess you just can't do it at Samford. And then I started thinking, like, hold on, Mom, like, I can do it, like, and so I had this, battle with my moms. I felt like, my mama don't even believe in me. I got to show her, I can make A's at Samford. I mean, it's hard, but I can do it. Like, I'm like, what has the world come to? My mama know what I'm capable of, but she's saying maybe I can't do it. And so the other teacher, that made a bad grade on her first test, she said, she called me into her office. So I was scared because I'm like, man, what did she want? What did I do? I didn't cheat. Like, that was my grade. I earned it. And she looked me in my eyes and she said, you can be whatever you want to be. And I was like, dang. So I don't even get a chance to slack. Like, it's people on my head, but I don't even know why. Like, they don't even know me, but they own me. And so I got to where at Samford, I would make A's. And so it would be so funny because the teacher would say, they don't really know your names at first. So they would call my name to hand me my test back. And they would look so shocked, like, oh, that's you. Like, you made that. Like, you had the highest grade on the test. Because I started realizing, like, I can get it done. And so I had to tap back into the competitive mindset that I had when I was in high school. And then, while I was at Samford, one of the guys on the football team started sharing faith with me. And at first I told him, hey, man, it's just me being transparent. I was like, faith for white people, bro. Like, where I'm from, with Black people, bro, we not blessed. And we walking around talking about God. And it was really my ignorance. I didn't know what I was talking about. And probably just had seen so much in life, a little bit of frustration and anger coming out. And the crazy thing about it, it was a Black dude that was telling me about God. But he kept inviting me. I finally went, and I would destroy Bible study. I mean, I would laugh, I would joke, I would play. He would never kick me out because my goal was that if he kicked me out, then I never have to go again. Later on, he pulled me aside and he said, I want you to know you're a leader. All these people come because you're here. And I was like, wow, like, my whole goal was to destroy it. He was like, no, you're very entertaining. So people are coming and I'm getting to talk to people about God just because of you. And so then I, came into my own faith. And with that, it was more than just a theology. It was the idea that I had a purpose in life to display God's love to all people, but especially people who look like me, that I had found something that gave me an inner tenacity to go hard and feel like that I had the power to help my community. And so with that, now I have faith, I had academics, and at the same time, I had sports, but sports weren't always friendly to me in college. I had 2 season-ending injuries. The first injury was a sports hernia. I had a groin injury, and I kept playing on it, ended up developing a hernia, a sports hernia, and I had surgery on it. And you just could see the college athletics, and I'm talking about Samford is D1 AA. I can't imagine at the higher level. They started telling me I was feeling pain that wasn't there. And so they flew me to Philadelphia, and it was kind of a way for them to prove to me like, hey, you're fine. Got to Philadelphia, met with a doctor named Bill Myers, who's a sports surgery guru. And he said, did his exam, got some imaging. Was like, yeah, I need to do surgery on you tomorrow. And I was like, wow, that was a breath of fresh air, because I started having this battle within my mind. Like, am I really hurt? Am I just weak or whatever? And after he did the surgery, it took me a little while. I struggled. But then we end up getting this coach there at Samford University who had coached in the NFL before. And he held us to, I mean, when I say excellence, he would show us game film of when he coached in the NFL. And he taught me so much. A lot of other people were frustrated with him. I was coming off an injury, so I knew I, wasn't performing well. But what he taught me was that excellence doesn't matter about what level you're at. Excellence is excellence. So he didn't reduce his expectation because now he was coaching college. And so if you got graded out at a 30%, then you grade out as a 30%. You could have had a fumble recovery, scored a touchdown on defense, still graded out as a 30%. And so I just bought into his system. And that's what I would challenge a lot of you all with, is that when you have coaches and people who care about you, buy in to their system, because they care about you. And so while other people be playing and joking, I would be out there doing my skills and drills, perfecting my craft. So I was like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Well, about 2 weeks before the first game, I asked the coach, can I go from 3 technique to nose guard, the second string 3 technique, threw somebody into my leg, had a high ankle sprain, severed the ligaments, had to get surgically repaired. And it was like I was starting over again. Now, the blessing about being at a D1AA and having somebody like Coach Sullivan as a coach is that I still got another chance. So I ended up getting a medical red shirt. The first time I got a red shirt, the second time a medical red shirt. And I had academic advisors that maximized my time at Samford University. So every time I got hurt, I majored in sports medicine pre-med. They would add on a concentration. So I ended up getting a concentration in, I'm in a minor in biology, psychology, and nutrition. Because I had people, when people know that you care and that you can embrace the fact that they care about you, they always going to be trying to help you. And that's what happened. My 5th year, so that was my 4th year. I was hurt. My 5th year, I barely came back, but I was limping around. And the scout from the New Orleans Saints came to talk to us after the season. Well, he talked to a couple of people, and he came to talk to me. He was like, "Are you Towns?" I was like, "Yes, sir." He was like, "Your coaches really are high on you, but I didn't see anything on film." That kind of crushed my spirit a little bit. I was like, "Wow!" But it was an honest evaluation. I went back and looked at the film from the previous year, and I agreed with his assessment. I was limping around on the field, just couldn't get in my groove. And so I made up my mind going into my 6th year, it's for all the marbles. Like, I'm going to go for it all. And I'm trying to go to the NFL. Like, I'm going to go for it all. But it was not really so much about the NFL as much as I want to prove something to myself, that I could stay out there and I could give it my all. I'll train like never before. And, the guy that accidentally threw somebody in my leg, he ended up going into playing in the league. He's still playing now. But one of my other friends, he had texted me one day. He had graduated. He said, "Don't expect God to use the same timing in your life that he uses in other people's lives." And that really hit with me because my role has been a little different. I stayed extra time in school. Then I ended up getting this opportunity with the NFL. But the opportunity with the NFL, it just wasn't as rosy as a lot of other people's opportunity was, because, after the season, it was tough to find somewhere to train and that type of thing. And I talked to a scout. I talked to an agent, and I told him all of my stats and stuff like that. But then I told him Samford University, and he was like, "Call me if you need some help." And I'm like, "Man, I'm calling you because I need help. I'm already on the phone with you." So it was on me to just not give up. And the spiritual side kicked in. I felt like God told me, I want you to go on this journey because I'll teach you something you otherwise would not learn. And that has paid dividends now in my life, is that I learned a lot from getting that league opportunity. But I learned you have to really believe in yourself. As minorities, it can be very difficult to believe in yourself. The stereotype threat, I did some couple research papers on that in school. It's real because you start performing at the expectation level that you think other people have for you. You can go look up that phenomenon, stereotype threat, and just kind of see it. But I started realizing is that like I can get the job done. And so as I was trying to find somewhere to train, I hit up my friend in the NFL and I said, man, I need somewhere to train. He paid for half of my training. I went to Texas. I drove a 1999 Mercury Villager from Birmingham, Alabama to Houston, Texas. That's about 9 hours. An old car in a blowout on the way back to Birmingham for my medical school interview at South Alabama. But what it put in me is some relentless. Like it made me relentless. It made me have a tenacity. Made me not give up. I was around guys who played for SEC teams and stuff like that, and I didn't worry about it. I just said, I'm gonna go to Houston. I'm gonna grind, and it gave me a whole nother level of confidence because by the time I left, they was like, "Man, you the most improved guy in the whole facility." Because I would get up at 5 a.m. and go ahead and get there, do rehab, do treatment, then do, the skills and drill stuff we were supposed to do, hit the weight room and that type of thing. But when I came back home for my medical school interview, what I had realized is that other people was taking stuff seriously. Like I saw people from all over the world, from all type of backgrounds that was interviewing in South Alabama. And I was kind of frustrated with myself because I realized I had put so much effort into sports. I had put so much effort into ball. And, you ask yourself why. People can say they love the game. Really, a lot of times the reason as minorities, we put so much effort into ball is because our community put so much effort into ball. You know what I'm saying? So you end up, carving out paths that you feel like people going to support you in, that they're going to be excited for you in. And so I realized that these people that was also interviewing at the time I was interviewing, that they had been knowing they wanted to be a doctor since they was 3, 4, 5, and 6 years old. I knew at a young age I wanted to do it, but I can't say I attacked it the way they did. And so I was like, dang, like that's when I had this realization, and it's too late at that point. And so I, in the middle of me telling my story, I want to challenge you all, like, if you know where you want to go, start getting there now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Because I always tell people, my philosophy on tomorrow is it's always coming, but never arriving. You always have another tomorrow to say, I'll get this done. But the biggest opportunity you ever have is today. And so I ended up, the draft came. I didn't get drafted. I wasn't expecting to get drafted, to be honest. I ended up going to a tryout with the Jets, didn't make it on. And then I went on this not spring break. I went on this mission trip to Dominica with the athletic director for Samford University. And I told my mother before I went, I said, a team is going to be to hit my phone when I go over there. She said, no, go over there. You got a week after you come back from being on this mission trip to go to medical school. Just go over there, come back. You went to trial with the New York Jets. You didn't get it. Football over for you. I said, no, I don't think that's the way it's going to go. And my mom is very logical and stubborn. And so she said, how do you know then? I said, God told me. My mama don't like talking like that. That's not logical. She like, well, prove it to me. I said, I can't prove it to you, Mom. Went to the Dominica, came back, and landed in Atlanta airport. Got to check my voicemail, and it was a scout from the Washington football team. The tough part about it is that he called me a day after I had went on a mission trip, and I was on a mission trip for a week. So in the NFL, they moved to the next person. They're not waiting on you. It's so many guys that's trying to make it that I was like, it's over. But I told the athletic director, and he said, call him back. And I'm telling you, it's so powerful to have mentors because you can get caught in your feelings, and your mentors, they've gone further, they've seen further, they just know more than you know. And so I called them back. They didn't answer. And I was like, yes, I had peace. I could go ahead and go to medical school. They ended up sending me a text message. And the guy said, I'm in a meeting. I'll call you when I get out. And so he called me. He said, man, where you been? We've been looking for you. I told him. And he said, we want to bring you up. That was like a Sunday. He said, we want to bring you up on a Tuesday. Monday, I didn't hear anything from him. I was like, well, there go my dream. Because at the end of that week, it was time to go to medical school. A Saturday, I got a call again from him. Now, bear in mind, I was supposed to head to medical school the next day. I got a call from him, and they said, we want to bring you up. I had to call my mom and told her, hey, mom, can you drop me off at the airport? She said, for what? I said, Washington want to bring me up. She thought I was playing the whole time. And she came home, she dropped me off. She called me back later and she said, were you serious? I was like, yeah, mom, at the airport. Like, I got all the information and stuff. And I went up there and she told me like, hey, go up there, come right back home. So, but I'm like, in her mind, I'm just going for a workout and then I'm coming back home. And so I was like, yes, ma'am. Cause like, what can you say? I ain't got time to argue with her. I'm just like, I'm going up here and I just see what happened. Ended up trying out the next day. And this is one of the things I really want to drive home for you. I was in a room with somebody who had NFL experience. They knew the ropes. I didn't. But that's when my faith kicked in. I had been reading the story of David and Goliath way before. I had been reading the story of David, just thinking about my purpose, really just simply being where I need to be, when I need to be there. That's it. Nothing related to football, nothing else. It was just, I wanted to make sure, like, God, make sure I'm where I am, or give me the power, because we put too much on God. Give me the power to make sure I'm where I'm at when I need to be there. But in the process, I remember David saying, the battle is not mine, it's the Lord's. And that's what I was on my mind when I went to sleep that night. I got up the next day and the guy said, he was talking to me, the guy was trying out against, and I get like intense thinking about this, because he said, when you go from drill to drill, take your time. And I was like, hold on, what, bro? You know how we kind of talk when we ain't in the professional, saying like, you had to ask somebody, like, hey, bro, like, hold on, what you just said? Because sometimes you have to tell people, hey, run that back, bro, because it didn't sound clear to me. He said, go to hard doing the drill, but when you go from drill to drill, take it. And I'm looking at, bro, and I would scream here if I went to the fire department. I'm like, bro, this is my whole dream, and you telling me to find a way out. I'm like, no, bro, you crazy as you look, bro. Like, how in the world am I played football this long, been through this many injuries, and get a shot, and you telling me just don't have maximum effort? I'm like, this dude, in my mind, I was like, he don't have a chance. Like, if it's me or him, this guy can't give maximum effort. There's no way he's going to be able to beat me. It's like entirely, it's not a way. Like, dude won't beat me. And so we got out there, did our workout, finished. I shook everybody's hand because this was for me. You know what I'm saying? It was an opportunity. And so I shook that hand, went in the shower, and I embraced every moment. I took my time with my shower. It was like, hey, Towns, hurry up. I'm like, man, I'm finna take my time, man. Like, I got to soak this up because I know I'm about to go back to Birmingham, going straight to med school. Man, I'm finna really soak it all up. Got out of the shower. They said, hey, Towns, we want to offer you a free agent deal. And I just think about if I had took my time. In the moment, you have to have your principles. You have to have your non-negotiables. And you have to, that's what integrity is. It's like, you know how you respond regardless of the situation. I could have tried to be cool and buddy, because that's what you do a lot of times in sports. You brother-in-law, like be buddy. No, you don't have time for that. And it's the same thing academically. Like, you got to go get your junk done. You ain't got time for your little friends that want to hang out. Like, it's stuff that you got to get done. I bounced around the NFL, went from Washington, end up getting cut later. And then, some of my friends said, you should have went to med school. And I'm like, no, bro, like I was where I was supposed to be. Buffalo ended up hitting me up, and I spent a small time with the Eagles. And so to sum all that up, you say, what did you learn from that experience? I learned this. If you put your identity in anything man can take away, you sold yourself short. So my identity is not being a doctor. It's really cool to be a Black doctor, but my identity ain't in that, because that's a letter. It's like, I only put Dr. Jeremy Towns just so, to try to inspire you all. But the doctor part only mean as much as I get to help people and get to inspire other people, but they can take that away from me. You know what I'm saying? They can't take the MD part, because that's a degree, but they can decide to not let me practice. So I always make sure I know who I am. Because people say, what would you do if you weren't been a doctor? It's a million other things I do if I want a doctor. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing I learned is this: never count yourself out until you're counted out. I'll never count myself out. You know what I'm saying? I just will never do it. And then the other thing I learned is that you got to surround yourself with people who are going where you want to go. So I would hang with people who were in the NFL and they train like it. And in the process, I've seen a lot of people that should have got opportunities, never get opportunities. My medical school journey, I sum it up so I can leave time for questions. It was hard. So I was dating a young lady, had to stop dating, you know what I'm saying? Because I didn't have a plan B after that. You know what I'm saying? Like my family had to make it. Like it's just like, it's on me. You know what I'm saying? Like to change my whole family environment. So that's why I challenge you all, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It ain't just sports. You know what I'm saying? Just to be honest, because I know a lot of the background some of you all can come from, is like, just like selling dope can be a trap, sports can too. Because you can spend all your life putting your eggs in that basket and then you don't know what to do when you get finished. And I'm talking about even going to the NFL, like the average career is like less than 3 years when I was there. It take 3 years to get pension. I hope that resonate with you all. Like they want to push you out the NFL because they don't want to have to pay you pension. You know what I'm saying? And so when it comes down to that, it's like you got to find a way to make a way for you and your family. It's not just about you. It's about you and your family and other people that can be inspired by you. And so to be honest, in medical school, I did all right at first, but then I struggled on step one. And then I made like a 210 or so on step one. And then it bothered me. Like, I'm like, bro, you ain't give it all you had, bro. Like, that's how I talk to myself. Like, the professional stuff go out the door when I talk to myself. I'm like, bro, that wasn't you. I'm like, you were scared. You didn't train like you should have, so you could have an excuse almost of why you didn't get what you wanted. And I got around some other people that just, they told me, I want you to do 150 questions a day. And so I just started sticking with that. Like, I'm like, I don't care what the medical school grades look like I'm attacking this jump. And so I attacked step two and I made it jump from 210 to 250. The only reason I share that with you all is minorities is because a lot of times we get caught up in just reading a book. A lot of times if you want to get to where you're trying to go with standardized testing, it's doing test questions. But a lot of times if you're not privileged to the people who would give you that information, you don't know. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a little nugget to put in your tool bag. And then from there, I went to residency, but it's like, in the process, I run 2 nonprofits. One is a college ministry that I do everything for, raise funds. We got 2 buses just closed on a property. There's 96 acres with a 10-acre lake on it. It's like, you want to be well-rounded. And what I found out is I put my effort into helping people, I always get to where I need to get to. You know what I'm saying? And the other thing I do is a sports camp. So both of them will be housed on that property. But beyond just those things, doing stuff like that allowed me to know how to interview. And so I'm very confident with interviewing because I always talk to people. And I've gotten to a point to know how to own my story. And that's what I challenge you all to do is like go places, be around people who are different than you so they can ask you, tell me about yourself. Like that's a question you can always get in an interview and you should be able to do it. Like start from childhood, give a couple brief things about childhood, and then just give one major point. Usually I always give who is a major influence in my life. Then I stop and I let them ask me questions from there. And then I have my things where like, as people are interviewing me, I bring them into my world. I know my world very well. But my cheat code with interviewing is that I always talk about the people who influence my life. So you need to know that people who influence your life very well and find ways to sneak them into your interview so they'll realize that you didn't get to where you got just by yourself. And when you do that, this is what happens. They realize there were other people who believe in you also. People tend to believe in people that other people believe in. But a lot of times, I wasn't privileged to this information. It's just as I've matriculated through these processes and things like that, mentor other students along the way, I just start understanding like what people like, and it makes you way more confident in interviewing. And when you can be confident in interviewing, it's like, because if you get to the interview, you got a fighting chance. And you should be able to, I mean, you could literally be in an interview and tell them, they say, what's an influence on you? You was like, well, I just happened to hop on this swag mentoring series. An NFL player was talking. I got a chance to get his number, connect with him, and that inspired me. And so then they're going to ask you more questions. Like, tell me more about it. You don't have to even be to talk to me. You can already know my entire story from what you just heard and then other people. And then you get to connect in a way is almost if you went to the NFL. How do I know that? I was talking to a guy and then I shut up. A friend of mine, he was kind of told, yeah, you always hang with JT, but he's been to the NFL. Some things are just going to come to him that won't come to you. And I had to tell him, man, like, I see where you're coming from, but I've had the chance to directly mentor you. My story is now your story. And it's your story without you ever having to go to the NFL and run your head into other people. You didn't have to deal with all the injuries, but you can get a chance to own my story at the same time. And so, with mentoring is one of my favorite things to do. You all can look me up on social media. Mr. Smalls was actually saying that's how he found me, was social media. And I respond to social media because I feel like God put me on a platform or gave me a platform to be able to help other people. You know what I'm saying? So when people hit me up, I try to find every way I can to help people because that's what, literally, give me life. So I'll shut up. You all can ask me questions and that type of thing. But thank you all for letting me talk to you all. It's a pleasure and it's indeed an honor.
Thank you very much. We enjoyed your story. People have questions, want to raise their hands, please do so. But I will start with the first question in terms of the valedictorian thing. We normally don't hear that, in the schools, or I haven't really heard it much from my communities of color. I normally hear it like from, the opposite side. So how did it feel, one, receiving valedictorian, and two, knowing that you can achieve that level of success?
Yeah, that's a good question. How did it feel? It felt awesome, but it had been years of hard work. I mean, it's tough to tell the whole story in an hour or so, but, I would get caught reading books, going to sleep to the point my mother would come by and she would cut the light out. And she tells stories about when I was younger, I found a flashlight and, I found out a way to sneak and read books at night without her knowing it. And she finally, looked in the room one time and she was like, I saw some like, moving under the cover, but it wouldn't move, but so much. She was like, it was when I'd be flipping the page. So she found out that I was reading. So it was, it was that level of excellence to just like, I just I hated failure more than I loved success. And so it felt awesome. But I had to say to be able to get there, having that oldest brother, like in our community is the reason we don't make all A's a lot of time is because nobody hold us to that standard that you can make all A's, that I expect you to make all A's. So I think that's one of the reasons.
And we had a question in the chat. What advice would you give to a student athlete that aspires to work in medicine?
To start now, you need to already be getting mentors. You need to already, I always tell people this is like, if someone tells me they want to do something, I use a lot with the NFL. People say, I want to go to the NFL. And I always tell people, you're not serious. And the reason is because the people that I found that really want to go to the NFL, they know, what school they want to go to. They know they already had their workout drills. They know the draft process. And I didn't know any of those things. And, they know what's required to get there. Same thing with medicine. It's like when people want to do things like that, it's like people should know that, 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of med school, they should know, that you take step one, when you take step one in med school, when you take step two, when you take step three, it's like you want a roadmap. And I tell people is if you couldn't use Google you want to use Google and research everything and have it on a paper. Write it down to know how to get there, to know who you need to hit up and when you need to hit them up. But if you really want to get there, I always say latch on to somebody who's been there, because they'll make sure you get there. Like with me, I didn't do as well on the MCAT, but I found a professor on campus who was, he's since passed, but he was an MD, former dean of a medical school, former orthopedic surgeon. He has a master's of divinity, MBA, PhD. I latched on to him. I would meet him for his office hours. I wanted to know more about him. I excelled in his class. And he gave me the game plan for getting to South Alabama. South Alabama was the only medical school that I got into. And so that's why I tell people, you only need one. I can't get degrees from, more than one at one time. So, all you need is one to be able to get there. So in summary, get you a mentor, latch on to them. And it's the art of winning over a mentor. If you find out what motivates the mentor, you find out if it's a particular mentor that does research, learn their research so you can have a conversation with them about it. And then every time they ask you to do something, treat it as if it's a homework assignment and try to get it back to them as fast as possible. If you can get it back to them within 24 hours, do so, because their mind still remembers it. And then in the process, you will win over the mentor. And what will happen is that mentor will feel obligated to make sure you get to where you're trying to get to.
Great advice. Marcus, can you come off mute and ask your question?
Yeah, Dr. Towns, thank you so much for sharing your story and taking the time to speak with us tonight. My question was actually about what you were just talking about, mentorship. Like, it seems like on your journey, you've kind of had sort of a mix of people who've been a positive influence in your life and some people less so. When you're looking for that mentorship, what is it like in the mentor that you should be looking for? Like what types of things are standouts that let you know that you have a good mentor?
That's a great question, man. I cast a wide net, but when I'm looking for a mentor, but I just embrace everybody. I look at every moment as a mentoring moment. You see what I'm saying? So I just don't go target a mentor. I look at every moment. So I try to give my all in every single class, every single opportunity. Because what you will find out is that once you start matriculating through medicine and you start want to do other endeavors besides medicine, you start realizing it's more about having a network and contacts than anything, because you never know what question you have. I'm with the stuff I do, helping people, and having a ministry and stuff. We just bought 2 buses. You know what I'm saying? We bought a property, so I had to ask a lot of questions. And so with that is make sure every interaction you have with a person is genuine, whether they can help you or not. If it's the homeless person, be genuine with them, because you don't know the context that the homeless person have. You know what I'm saying? If it's the lunch lady, be genuine with them. It's the counselor, be genuine with them, because in the process, you will find out that they might be able to put you in contact with somebody. But in GIS, it's that whoever shows an interest in you, you also should show interest in them. So whoever spends a little bit more time with you, whoever, and I just let people know, they don't have to be my mentor, but, people that's in education, they have a duty to mentor, so it's whether they want to do it formally or not, they have a duty to do it. So you have a right to email them. You see what I'm saying? You ask them questions, and then you just keep letting people know, hey, I need help going here. Get in touch with the academic advisors and the officers on campus and stuff like that. And then anybody you see going in the direction you're going, that's a potential mentor.
I have Dalen that had her hand up. If you don't mind, can she ask a question?
Hi, I'm very, very shy.
Don't worry about it. Just take your time.
And I'm a senior in high school. So my question was that for my undergraduate, I want to be an OBGYN in the medical field. And my question was one of the teachers that I have, she told me I had to take a biology course. And a lot of people in my family, they give me advice, but they tell me that college is very hard. And since I'm so shy, and I know that I'm gonna have to take a communication class, I don't know how we'll be able to handle it because I have panic and asthma attacks.
Yeah, that's a great question. And so on every campus, they have, accommodations for people. And so you can, and what I tell people is like, I do a lot of public speaking. So I ended up realizing that, most people struggle with public speaking and they get anxiety and that type of thing. So one of the things I challenge you to do is, when you're around people, just try to ask questions. So if you look at it, what you did was you asked a question, you talked for about 15 seconds, and here I go talking for a minute or 2 minutes. What you'll find out is that if you go and keep doing things like that, like, you ask a question, you get more comfortable asking the question, and then you just find times of conversations just to, add a little input, 10 to 15 seconds. The only way to get better at speaking is speaking. You could take all the classes in the world, but the more you speak, the better you will get at it. And so what I would challenge you to do is you will have to take some biology, communications classes, but latch on to the professor in that class. They're more than willing to help you. And then, I can send you my email address to give you some tips and stuff like that. But one of the best ways to be prepared. Now, I've given my story so many times that it's like, I kind of just know the points I'm gonna hit and realize I can't hit everything. And then at some point, so what I'll say is that, I can give you my email address and I can give you some things to kind of help you with your shyness and that as it relates to public speaking.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jeremy.
You're welcome. And college will be hard, but
Ay, no me diga.
What's that?
I said, please don't tell me that.
But it's like, hard doesn't mean impossible. And so that's why I try to challenge minorities on is like, especially athletes, is that, if it's time to run a sprint, that's hard. Like when you really think about it, like that's hard. It's time to lift weights. That's hard. It's time to do a lot of other things in life. Washing dishes is hard. For me, my mother cooks a lot. Thank God I'm still at home for right now. That's hard, but it can be done. You know what I'm saying? So I want to push us as minorities, to get to that point where something is hard academically and then keep pushing.
We had Ronald Smith, and then after that, Andrew DePass.
Good evening, Dr. Town. I truly enjoyed your story, and I think I'm in love with your mom. You will never be able to measure the impact of the manner in which she responded to you in the times when you really needed her to be something other than you thought she should be. I have a curious question because, and it's one that I've contemplated for a very long time, and I'm just curious to know whether you have contemplated this as well. I have the admirable opportunity to work with students who have been identified as very talented, very focused, they're very aspirational and they have very bright futures. But I often wonder about, because I grew up in inner city Baltimore, and I can remember some of the kids that I grew up with that didn't make it. When I say didn't make it, I mean in a variety of different ways. Some of them are not alive and didn't have long lives. Some of them, didn't get beyond the prison walls, and just a variety of other sad stories to be told. But I know if we just think about it from a statistical perspective, there are other folks out there smarter than me and you who could have become something productive in their lives. And I'm wondering if you've ever contemplated, like I have, as to how do you reach them? How do you connect with them in ways that perhaps no one has ever attempted to do it before? Because it has to resonate. And the opposition is strong, meaning the other things that lure their attention and that, dominate their time. Have you ever thought about creative ways to reach back and grab some of those bright young people, male and female, who we know intellectually have the ability, but for whatever reason, has not found a path to success?
That's a great question. Awesome question. It's literally my life's mission, is to do that. I do it one through the college ministry that I run. It's on about 6 campuses in 3 states. I give like so much of my time to it, but they already have a somewhat of a chance because they made it to college. What I find out is that just because you make it to college don't mean you're gonna be able to do all that you can do. The second thing is
Engine 1, Rescue 11, 200 Saturn Lane.
let me let this finish.
Engine 1, Rescue 11, 200 Saturn Lane, General Illness. Crash at Venus Avenue, Mars Avenue, 61-year-old female.
So I'm at the fire department, so they finna go on the call. It's pretty cool stuff. But when you look at it, I do sports ministry. And so I try to get them young using sports. But to be honest, that's the reason I wanted to get the property that I got right outside of Birmingham. Because what I realized, Mr. Smith, is that even with college students, in order for me to have a tangible impact on them, it's like, if I meet them their sophomore year, I might not get an impact on them, like a tangible impact like I really want to have until they're a senior. And that's if I meet them their sophomore year. A lot of times I don't come in contact. I'm gonna finish this interview. I'm gonna hold off on this one. Yeah. They was coming to see if I wanted to ride with them to that. So with all that being said, it's like I ended up, raising money, but then spending my own money. So, I stay with my mother and my brother. And in order for us to be able to get this property, I dropped $25K of my own funds, you know what I mean, to make it happen, because I realized there's literally a chance of a lifetime to be able to make it happen. And to further answer your question, let me cut this down. Oh, I can't. It's coming through the ceiling. The other part of it is that we got to get them young. So can y'all hear me still, even though that's going on?
Yeah.
So the other part of it is that I feel like we got to try to get these kids at 2 and 3 years old. Like, that's what makes it so tough, because the psychological hold that's on those kids, even at 7, 8 years old, with all the other influences that you mentioned, the music, the culture, and that type of thing, it's really tough to pull them back after that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we need to be even more proactive at trying to get minority kids at 2, 3, 4 years old. And then how do I see that? With my counterparts, they're at the dinner table with mom and dad. So they're hearing conversations and they're being reached at 3, 4, 5 years old. But we don't really look at it like that. The conversations that they get to be a part of, like one of my friends, and a lot of people in medicine, I see that their dad is a doctor, their mom is a doctor, their grandma, so they got this put into them. And so what I started realizing is that in our community, we have to look for outside influences to reach us. Whereas in their community, they're being reached by their family at a young age. And so, yeah, I think about it all the time. It's one of my biggest frustrations, because I realize the only difference between me and another person is that I had a mother at home who was relentless. And I wanted to please her. So she had enough influence on me that I didn't want to disappoint her. And so, I didn't even mention when I was a senior in high school, like I worked a full-time job, basically, you know what I'm saying? And still played sports, because I'm just like, I got to make it happen. It's no excuses. And so, yeah, that's my life's mission. We just bought that. I want to bring kids out there fishing, because it's tough for me to just stick a science book in front of their face. But if I can bring them out and expose them to more, and they can see somebody who looks like me out there with a property. And then that's another reason why I have dreads. I probably would have cut my dreads, but when I was trying to get into medicine, I shadowed with a doctor that told me that if I wanted to keep shadowing with him, I was going to have to cut my hair. And I had to tell him no, but if you think about it, one of the very things that other kids look at that look like me, you know, they like, oh dang, you know, they can connect with the dreads. He was telling me to do away with that. So then I would just, you know, society has made it where if you want to go into be professional, you know, my dreads can be well groomed. I can have my beard groomed and everything. But if you want to be professional, then they tell you got to cut your hair. So then at the same time, society tells us that if you, that all the people who have dreads and stuff, you know, they do certain activities or they in jail. Well, we pre-selected for that because we told everybody that was going to do something of substance to cut their hair. But if you look at it, and this is something I thought about, is that in other cultures, think about the physics teacher and how his hair looks. It's okay for his hair to be long. It's okay for the historian hair to be long. It's only when you're a minority is there an issue. When other people's hair is long and gray and that type of thing, they think it's cool and they think it means wisdom. Until somebody looks like us, then it's an issue.
That's major because a lot of my high school's teachers look like they never combed their hair. Andrew's next.
But I never comb mine.
Go ahead, Andrew.
How were you able to manage your time given you had so many pursuits and stay successful in all of them? And how did you prevent like a setback in one of those pursuits from sort of spilling over and affecting your other pursuits?
Great question. So I've been kind of just from a lay perspective studying time management because I'm always helping college students. And so I always ask them, you know, time management doesn't become a problem until people enter college. In middle school, you never hear a middle school student say, I struggle with time management. Why? Because their time is managed for them. They know I go to this class, then that class, and that class, and then that class. Then I have lunch, and then I have, you know, my extracurricular activities. And then I go home, I eat, and then I go right to my schoolwork. I might talk on the phone a little bit, but then it's time for the next day. Our time is managed for us. And so I always try to tell students to go back to that time. You have to have a schedule. You can't manage time without a schedule. It's like trying to manage money without a budget. You just can't do it. And so if you treat your time as if it was a dollar bill, like each minute, each hour, as if it was a dollar bill, or, you know, however much currency you want to put on it, it's like you don't just go out down the street and put money in the back of in a trunk of a car and just, you know, let money just fly out, you know, as you drive down the street. Don't do your time that way. But unless you prioritize your time and schedule your time, you can't manage it. So you have to say, you know, I wake up at this time, I eat breakfast at this time, I'm in class at this time. And then, you know, in the free time, you have to manage that too. And so I even manage my time up until, you know, if I'm resting, then I let myself know this is time of rest. The reason is it's psychological. A lot of times I'll spend a whole weekend laying around, not doing anything, but because psychologically I didn't perceive it as rest, then I still feel tired. So now I get to manage more I get to maximize my time because I can literally take 2 hours and just rest. And I know I'm, you know, I'm resting, and then I feel way, way better afterwards because, you know, from a psychological standpoint, I know I rested. But at the same time, I realized that it's okay to be tired. Tired just means you did something. You see what I mean? And so I'm used to understand how to operate with being tired. But the number one thing I always tell people if they say they struggle with time management is schedule. Put your schedule together with your tasks that you need to get done on them. And then the more and more you get better at that, then you don't have to schedule as many things. But think about a dean of a school or administrator, or, you know, I was even talking to my pastor, and when I asked to get on his schedule for next week, he said, you know, I'm gonna get my secretary to reach out to you. So people, you know, that really care about that time, they manage it very well by having a schedule and then being able to say no. And so the other thing you asked is like, how did I keep some pursuits from not interfering with others? Is that all these things I don't see them as isolated. Like sports should be helping you academically, and, you know, the logic of the academics and expanding your mind should help you with sports. So a lot of times, you know, we play sports at the level of just playing sports, But you want to, if you're playing football, you want to understand the strategy. You want to understand other positions. You want to allow football to be expanded your capacity mentally, not just working out, but start understanding what the muscles do that you're working out. What would they designed to do. It's just so much in sports that go beyond just the playing of the game. And you start thinking about NFL. Those guys are like lay scientists when it comes to their body and what to put in it, how to treat their body, and that type of thing. So I would look at these things as pushing me in the right direction. So I never really looked at people couldn't understand why I ended up doing ministry. Ministry made me way more effective as a communicator. And then now if you look at all these things, these questions you all are asking, the only reason I can have an answer so quickly is that I've already mentored students with these same questions.
I just wanted to direct your attention to the chat because I put something in there that we do with the students in our scholars program, and the doctor hit it right on the head. You got to have a schedule. We require them to have a 168-hour schedule. They're 168 hours in a week.
Wow.
I saw another question. It says, what is your biggest mistake in your athletic or professional career, and what did you learn from it?
What was the biggest mistake I made?
In your sports career, career?
It's a few of them. One of the things I say is that in sports, don't expect people to always bring all the information. So, playing at Samford University, we were big on stopping the run as a defense. But in the NFL, it was more of rushing the passer. And so you have to research ahead of where you are, and you have to not expect other people to always bring you all the information. Another mistake I would say I made, it didn't really cost me, but my attitude was terrible. I would always blow up. I would always get mad. I would always, flip out of sorts. And my coaches were always trying to help me with that. One day it happened at Samford. My attitude was bad on the field sometimes. If I wasn't a good student and didn't have other people champion me in the academic side of college, they probably got rid of me at Samford for how bad my attitude was. But my oldest brother, he told me one time, he said, if every time you're doing something, people can make you flip out, lose control, and, say whatever come to your mind, want to fight and all that stuff. He was like, you will never be successful doing that. Because if I'm competing against you, I realize all I got to do is just make you mad and you're going to flip out. So it's never a competition with you because I know what you would do. Fast forward to being a third-year medical student. It was a lady in the hospital. I was kind of nervous. I didn't know where to go and that type of thing. And I just said, is this the nurse's desk? And she said, she ignored me. And I was so surprised because the lady looked like me. And I was like, dang, I would expect that otherwise, but not like this. And so it took a resident to say, yes, it's a nurse's desk. And she was mad because she said I didn't speak. And I'm known for speaking to everybody. Just at one moment, I was really so caught up trying to find my patient, see my patient, get back to the rounds room so I could report to the supervising physician and the rest of the team and get my stuff squared away. And when I was going to see the patient, I heard her out there like she was mocking me. And like my blood was literally boiling. And I already knew, I was like, I'm gonna flip out. Like, that's what I do. When I get mad, I flip out. But it was something in me that I just kept going. I passed by. And I ended up texting a couple of my mentors and I told them, thank you. Because I realized that all those moments, it was bigger than sports. It was that, because the way I was gonna flip out, they would have to kick me out of med school. Like I would have and they loved me down there in South Alabama, but they were gonna have to kick me out of med school because I knew the ruckus I was gonna cause. But I didn't. And so it showed you that, those were some mistakes I made when I was younger. But, when you're young, you need to be trying to fix a lot of the things that before they cost you detrimentally. And so if I didn't fix it before then, it would have really cost me a lot. I wouldn't have been on here with you all today. And so you got to realize, don't worry about what other people say, and realize, don't make a decision in one moment that's going to jeopardize the rest of your future. And so now I just tend to have a calm, collected demeanor. Sometimes, dealing with consults, I just tell, they'll get upset when I'm in the emergency department and I'm having a consult, one special or another. And I just tell them, hey, this is what I was doing. But I try not to ever let them get me out of my character. You know what I'm saying? Like hollering and stuff like that. It's like, no need. Like, what we hollering for? We're in the hospital. So I try to always keep myself calm, collected, and composed, because, that flipping out stuff, that's a learned trait. I saw people around me flip out. And so that became the way I handle adversity in tough situations. So that's one of the biggest things, is my attitude.
Thank you for that. If there's no more questions, I don't want to keep everybody too late. So at this point, I will bring on our director, leader, Dr. Miller. Do you have any closing remarks that you'd like to share?
No, actually, Anthony, you all did a great job. This was a great session. Learned a lot. I really appreciate Dr. Townsend, you sharing your intimate story with us, some of your challenges and how you overcame those challenges, and particularly how you encapsulated what this session is all about. You had a game plan for success, and you've emphasized the importance of a game plan. And so we appreciate you bringing that to the students' attention. Turn it back over to you, Anthony.
Dr. Townsend, would you like me to share your email and social media information with everyone before you go?
Oh, for sure. Email, social media. We can start there. And if they connect with me there, I'm willing to give them my cell phone and everything.
Okay, so I am working on getting that. And other than that, please continue to support Game Plan. Continue to go to all of our webpage links, look at the past conversations that we had. We'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out. This is Dr. Jeremy Towns' email address. He also has the IG account that you can go to at JT_SU91. And if you have any further questions, if you want to connect with him directly, or if you want to use me as a liaison to reach out, please do not hesitate. Continue to look out for future emails from us. And like I said, thank you everybody for coming out for Game Plan. And as we say in our spiel on the website, in order to win at life, you need a game plan, and the same thing applies to sports. Thank you, and catch you at the next Game Plan. Bye, everyone.